Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are tuned in. Welcome to another episode of Watercolor Instructions. If you want to help me out, like the video, subscribe, and then hit the notification button so that you don't miss another notification. I did an episode just before that on doors. I'm going to try to do doors, buildings, apartments, just all the basic infrastructure which is needed for the cityscape. So if you haven't watched, there are episodes where I've done the sky. There's episodes where I've done vehicles, four episodes of vehicles. And this series is all about buildings. So if you know how to do the buildings, sky, the vehicles, and there's 4 episodes of people. So if you do that, you have everything, in my opinion, you need to start doing cityscapes, which after these 4 episodes is where I'm getting it. So for this one, I'm going to slightly do a line and wash. You could do a pencil, but just for the sake of doing it line and wash, the first episode I used 0.5. This is a uni pen. This time I'm going to use 0.8. I'm going to do 2 demonstrations just to get an idea how it works. And then the paper I'm using is a 300 grams Saunders rough. I'm going to stick it once I draw. It's easier to draw straight lines when I can move around. On my right, I got some set up few synthetic brush. These are all really cheap synthetic brush. These are the cheapest you can get. I usually buy from a company called Jackson Arts in UK. And I've got a couple of small mops. It's easy to, nothing expensive. And these are the pens. And on my right, I have a John Pike Big Well palette. This is 20 pigments. To be honest, I don't use all the pigments, but there is 20 wells and I kind of use as and when it's needed. So you got my yellows, my browns, my reds, greens, blues, and my grays. So, and then also I keep 2 bottles of clean water, one to brush, and then one if I want to do a wash, another thing. And there's a couple of small pieces of sponge just to soak up excess water. And I also always carry a roll of tissue, which is very handy when you're doing things. So let's get on with doing a couple more doors. So this one, again, you're trying to be as economical as possible. So you're not trying to, so let's see. So if that's the door I'm looking at, hopefully looks like it doesn't have a lot of ink. If it doesn't have, then probably I'll have to switch back to. So I'm just roughly, sorry guys, I have to switch back to 0.5. That one seems like it's out of ink, and then I've already started the video. I don't want to look for another pen. So I'm looking at, I'm roughly dividing half and half, and half is slightly asymmetric. I like it to be asymmetric instead of just regular squares. And you're looking at a knob, let's say some details. Obviously the door design doesn't look like that, but I'm just trying to improvise, just try to make it. Freestyle it. I got these images from Pinterest. I would really want to know I can copyright somebody, but I don't know who to copyright. These were some random pictures on Pinterest, saved by many people. So I don't know who I should thank you for the images. And then there is a step. Let's add a small step. And there's a bougainvillea, the first bougainvillea, or the bougainvillea. So I'm just going, so you have a shape like that. I'm just drawing a boundary, and I think they call it as a plinth, I'm not sure. So it goes here, and there's a little more shrubs here, and Not sure if it's a tree or a plant, but I'm going to just do plant here. And if I just continue, so that's all right. So I'm gonna do lots of flowers. You're just freestyling it because you probably don't want to do all the flowers or else you're going to get an illustration. These are small watercolor sketches. Uh, Definitely, if you're looking for very detailed painstaking each layer flowers and other things, definitely I'm not the guy. I don't have the patience, and also, to be honest, I don't like that style of two details. So I like rough. One of my favorite artists is Alvaro Castagnet. Funny enough, I took some classes, a week long classes in 2014, 2015. So a lot of my style is inspired by Alvaro. I like Joseph Zukovic. If you haven't, have a look. Those kind of broad strokes, uh, suggestions more than painting, but also it's amazing how you can see a lot more details. There's another Ukrainian or someone Eastern European. I should know where he's from. There's a guy called Dusan Jukarek. I'm really sorry if I butchered your name. Really good. If you guys haven't watched his artwork, it's really good. So probably at some stage I'm going to try to copy some of the works to show how I would tackle one of those things. But I'm not there yet. I've just started uploading the videos, and then so hopefully. This one has a lot of drawing, so I'm just trying to fill in other details while I'm doing. As you can see, I'm just adding a little more details, which it looks like a nice Mediterranean sunny day. So also keep in mind that especially the shadow over here is critical. I think that one gives, oh, and there's another window as well, which I have missed. And we could do a small gate as well. Maybe a couple of fences or just a suggestion. And maybe I'll throw in a little more greenery. It's not there, but it always looks good. Okay, that I would leave where the drawing is. That's enough details. And the fourth one, or the second one for this one, if you have watched my first video, this would be fourth, or it would be just a second. So freestyling it, and he's got, let's see if I can get that as the center mark. So that's the center. So he's got something like that. He's got something like that. And okay, and he's got a flower like that. Let's say all right, it's not oval, but that's a style. Down. And there's a latch, same thing. So there's a little bit of shadow. I'm just exaggerating a little bit the depth, and It gives you a little bit perspective, especially the tiles in the front. There's the tiles, maybe 2 tiles, and then there is and there's a bougainvillea. Oh, and so I like the shape of the tree. I'm gonna just go. Anything goes, to be honest. Okay, and there's knotted roots, and there's one more. I can squeeze in. Why not? So there's the leaves. So goes all the way, something like that. There's a bouquet of flowers. Slightly different scribbling just to give a different type of texture. And not to forget, there's a small reader or and there's a wire. That's it. So, and there's also a diamond. Okay, that should do. That would be my drawing. I'm just gonna stick that, check if both the things are still recording, the voice is recording, the videos are recording, and we can crack on with the drawing. Okay, so as I said, so I'm just going to use a synthetic, or for the colors, let's use a little bit of purple. So a fairly consistent purple. I'm going to just use the side of the brush just to add a little more break in the painting. I mean, the paper, if you see, it's not completely flush or it's not solid. So that should do. And for this one, let me use a red. Same thing, I'm gonna just do there's a bit more water than I wanted. Okay, these are all suggestions, but it's important suggestions that a little more water. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to move ahead with a little bit of green. So there's already a little bit of green on the palette. This is sap green. There's hookah green, and then also there's a little bit of turquoise as well. So I'm gonna mix and match different colors just to get that feel. So I'm gonna go light to start with. So those are the stem and barks and other things which are okay. So let's go ahead. I'm just gonna add a little bit of green in between, and I'm gonna mix the tone a little bit with some lighter green. Mix of light green, dark, so okay. And then there is another plant which I'm gonna go a little dark. Okay, that's about it. And for the wall, let's come to the wall. It's a little gray. I'm going to just dilute the water. So I'll come back to the stem. It looks more green than I wanted. I'm going to go back. That's because I didn't wash the brush properly. They're still green. I'm going to go over. That's about right. Just a suggestion here and there. We're not expecting okay, and we're gonna go cerulean blue, the light one. Let me just clean the palette so that we can pick up some cleaner pigments instead of diluted ones. So I'm doing cerulean blue, really light to start with. I'm gonna go one coat and a little more window. Okay, while it's drying, I'm gonna come to the second part and I'm gonna do similar. So random, mix the colors a little bit. Okay, I'll come back and then add another tone to just to darken, add shadows to it. Again, the wall, there's too much green in the paper in the palette. I'm just gonna soak up some green, clear the place a little bit. Another piece of tissue. Make sure I don't repeat the mistake. I'll wash the palette twice, and I'm gonna just grab a little more whatever color is there, a little bit of gray. Okay, since there's a slightly bigger wall, worry about bleeding. That gives you a nice feel for it. Try to be careful just to add a little bit of colors. And then also what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of texture. I usually use the back of the pen and then tap it just to give a little more texture. Makes it look a bit more worn out. Trust me, that small will make a big difference. So this one is again cerulean blue. I'm gonna just come back, give one coat, and let's just wait for this one to dry. I can pick up on the next painting. So I'm gonna go a brush smaller. I'm gonna take cerulean blue, add a little bit of gray, yes, and I'm gonna do add that shadow, a little more water. Okay, and now I'm going to start adding some highlights. There's a bit of a shadow, there's a bit of shadow, and the stem looks a little dark. I'm going to just use burnt sienna. Couple of, maybe we'll add a branch going here, and we said we're going to add a little bit of flowers here, and a little bit of green. Okay, and the wood, let's give a little earthy tone wood. Okay, that's about it. I'm going to use even smaller and go about and then adding a little more detail. Doesn't have to be fancy, just have to give the shadow. Okay, and more color to the corners. Okay, and now let's pick up that green, add a little bit of that gray, and add a little bit of highlights. So that gives you the depth within the painting. So okay, I would just leave it right there and come back and then add a little more detail for this window, which I forgot. Okay, and the door, a little shadow. Okay, I might throw in a couple more flowers. And the last thing, there's some more shadows on that window. That's a bit too dark. That's alright. That's why you can always adjust that. And a little more shadows. Then, not to forget, Okay, that would be enough to conclude that one. I'm gonna, while the paint has some darker tones, I'm just gonna exaggerate a little bit of shadows here, even though we can't see the shadows, but I'm gonna just use that as a light source and then just add a little more shadow. So, and a little shadow at the bottom. And the same thing I'm going to do with the blues. Even though there's no shadow, I'm just going to improvise a little bit just to make it look more aesthetic. So let's see. Okay, that's enough. I'm going to come back and then add a little more highlight all around. A little more blue, darker pigment on one side. A little bit of black. I'm going to make the plinth a little darker. I said I'm not going to come back to it, but while the brush is wet. Okay, and not to forget, I'll add a little bit of yellow ochre and burnt sienna for the branches. And to be honest, you need to add a little bit of shadow to it anyway, to make it more realistic. I didn't add shadow. Okay, so, and the final thing is I'm going to just add a little more shadow to the greens and call it a day. So a little darker here, a little darker here. Let's add a little darkness here. And I forgot the small blue box. Okay, and I'll add a little bit of shadow on one side. Okay, there's a little bit of roughage going on, and let's call it quits before it gets too. I think the door looks too clean. I'm just adding a little more texture. Okay, that would complete this painting. So 2 doors, and then if you have watched the other one, I'm not really sure I'm going to do as 1 episode or maybe 2 episodes, but this gives you an idea of line and wash and doors. This is key for doing cityscapes or any architecture drawing. I hope you enjoyed it. Help me out. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so that you don't miss another video. Till next time, see you and keep painting. Bye.